Good morning. Magandang umaga po. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening, depending on where you are. I'm back to talk about the current protocol when you arrive in the Philippines. I stayed away from this topic because it was getting to be so confusing. Too many issues, too many changes going on back and forth, some proposals. So I said, oh, the hell with this. But then I'm getting a lot of questions from my viewers regarding what is the current protocol. So that's what we're going to talk about. Stay with me. There are two sources that I gathered to get the current protocol because, as I mentioned, I decided not to talk about this thing anymore because of the so many changes and confusing changes that was going on. And not to mention, when this political atmosphere, there's a lot of noise, and now things have settled down and the news is good. So let's take a look at the changes that is currently in place. No longer a proposal. This is reality. Okay, these are the changes in the Philippine travel entry requirements. Pre-departure testing is no longer required, but if required, must obtain the test when you arrive in the Philippines. This means this confusion when you check in order to go to the Philippines, the airline is asking for this and this, that is gone. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But there are some requirements, but you can do it in the Philippines, no longer at your pre-departure terminal. If you are fully vaccinated, and that means 1 or 2 doses, depending on what vax you got. For example, I think everything is 2 doses except Johnson & Johnson, it's only 1, in which case you will be considered fully vaccinated, and no test will be required, but must show the proof of vaccination. We're not going to talk anymore about what is acceptable or not. There are certain about 4 or 5 proof that you could present. If unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, that means you did not complete the 2-dose and the 2-dose vax, or if you're vaccinated but it's unverified because you don't have the proof of vaccination, antigen test will be required for adults 15 years or older. 15 years or older. Booster shot is no longer required. Doesn't even get into the equation. There is no more quarantine for unvaccinated passengers, but those who test positive will follow the existing quarantine requirement. And we're going to talk about that again. E-card. This is another e-card that replaced the One Health Pass. It's no longer mandatory at the point of departure, but must register upon arrival in the Philippines. That means that will no longer be an issue of should I get this, should I get my QR code or whatnot. You don't have to worry about that anymore. But when you arrive in the Philippines, people who don't have smartphones or don't know how to handle a computer, there will be people to help you at the airport. But I would highly recommend that if you have the ability to, that you do it before you arrive in the Philippines so that your entry will be smooth, no interruption. Otherwise, there could be long lines of people waiting to be assisted in the Philippines. Did you understand that? If you can do it, do it. So it will be smooth going for you when you arrive in the Philippines. Wearing mask is now voluntary in the Philippines on all indoors or outdoor spaces. Exception are healthcare facilities, medical transport vehicles, and all types of public transport. That means when you get on the On the plane, you're still required to wear a mask. That's a requirement, okay? But once you get to the Philippines, it's voluntary, with the exception of those cases. Public transport, take a jeepney, take a bus. Well, what is the current quarantine requirement? Now, this is according to PAL, so don't quote me on this. I have some questions to see if this is true, and in some situation, I have not seen anything on the website coming from the government bureau, for example, Department of Foreign Affairs or Immigration. If you test positive, the Bureau of Quarantine shall transfer you to a designated hospital for further medical management. Okay? That's why it's best for you to get tested, assuming you're required. If you are unvaccinated, get tested in the US so you don't go through this hassle. What if you go to the Philippines and you test positive? Now you have to, it's better to know ahead of time before you leave rather than after you arrive in the Philippines. Otherwise, that's what's going to happen. Now, if you test negative, your test result will be released within 24 hours after your swab test is taken. So, you went there, oh, I'm no longer required. Let's say you are unvaccinated, which means you are still required, but it will be done in the Philippines. It's no longer required to get it done overseas. So, once you arrive in the Philippines, they say it will be released 24 hours, but what is that? PCR test? Because if they accept antigen test, antigen, you should be able to get it within minutes. The result I'm talking about. But here you have to go through the red tape, you have to wait for the certification from the Bureau of Quarantine. So if you are required to be tested because you are unvaccinated, get yourself tested before you leave. And better yet, get yourself vaccinated and save yourself all this hassle. Now, what do you do? Let's say you went through quarantine to go home. Of course, if you are fully vaccinated, I did not hear about the 7-day monitoring upon arrival, but they are saying you can undergo self-monitoring for any sign of symptoms until 7th day of arrival. That is home. Assuming this is correct, that is home quarantine or home, not quarantine. I won't even say quarantine. That's 7-day home monitoring. Just make sure, be aware, and make sure that you don't have any of the symptoms. Now, for foreign nationals, now they say here foreign nationals who are unable to present acceptable proof of vaccination. I don't understand this because foreigner or not, if you are unvaccinated, or you cannot show proof, you're supposed to get tested. So you will know whether you're positive or negative. And if you are... See, this is the thing I don't understand. For foreign nationals, well, how about locals? Unable to present acceptable proof of vaccination. Once cleared, you can call your relatives, respective of or respective local government unit, LGU, to pick you up or arrange your transportation going home. You are required to undergo quarantine until the 14th day, with the day of arrival being the first day. That's old news. I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's correct. Okay, but I have never heard of anything with a 7-day or monitoring or quarantine or 14-day. I never heard that. So don't quote me on this, but because I cannot find any information, but I found one in PAL's website, I said, maybe this is correct, maybe not, so don't hold me to it. This is good news. The e-arrival card is no longer mandatory, so it's not optional, but voluntary for you to do it before you leave, but you're still required to do it once you arrive in the Philippines. To avoid the hassle of a line queuing up there, waiting for you to be helped, get it done if you can. Get it done before you depart. Same thing with this requirement to, in case you are required to do testing, it will no longer be required to be done overseas. It could be done in the Philippines. But again, I would encourage you, for example, if you're unvaccinated, to get it done while you are overseas. This way, it will be smooth sailing once you arrive in the Philippines, and you don't run the risk of having a problem or being able to detect a problem while you're already in the Philippines. Then you'll be forced to quarantine. Again, I just decided to go ahead and look into this again to give you the update on what the current protocol is. And this is to satisfy some of my viewers. But like what I said, I gave up on this. I saw some vloggers there constantly saying the same thing over and over and over. And of course, it's okay because they're getting a lot of clicks, which is good for them. But I only want to deliver the news that is worthwhile. So please do share this with other people, and I'll appreciate it if you click like. And please do subscribe to my channel unless you've already done so. And smash that notification bell if you don't mind. Thank you so much for watching. Make it a great day, and God bless.